Now we have Senator Devine from Sinn Féin.
Thank you, Carola.
You have eight minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister. I'd like to firstly make it known that Sinn Féin will be supporting this bill. That said, we do have concerns and areas where we seek assurances that you might be able to address us today and see if you can give answers to. I know the original purpose of the bill was to allow HICWA to inspect all residential settings for people with disability, and it was given a 3-year period in which to do that, coming into effect November 2013. This is going to expire, as you said, in October, this October. There are 1,000 of the residential settings for people with disability requiring inspection. In the last 3 years up to June, we were informed 556. I know you've corrected that since, but it leaves still several hundred to be inspected, remaining to be inspected. This amendment would make provision to extend that time frame. We understand the consequences for the HSE service users and indeed families were we not to support this amendment, and it would cause extensive problems for all concerned. Our priority and utmost concern regarding this amendment is the service users, the implications that this extension has on them. We, of course, are of the strong belief and fully committed to the policy of moving people on from the congregated settings and institutionalisation that was so much of our past, that kept people with disabilities and very able abilities hidden from us and from our society. Decongregation is happening at a very slow pace. Sinn Féin supporting this amendment, we recognise that it certainly won't speed up the process, but we have to see the greater good. Our main concern while supporting this amendment is to ask why the process is taking so long. Whilst we can understand the huge administrative task, the time it took to bed down the initial process, we are asking now for the exact factors which are causing the delay and the backlog. We note that this issue was highlighted to the Department of Health by HICWA in 2015. It was outlined at the time it would not be possible within 3 years. I would like to ask the Minister if this is a question of resources. If so, why are more resources not directed to HICWA to allow them to complete the work in the agreed frame time? There is, of course, a possibility that it is not a resource issue. It was brought to my attention yesterday after speaking to Inclusion Ireland that there seems to be the existence of some list which has been drawn up by the HSE containing centres, listing centres that it is agreed will never meet the criteria required to become registered. Can the Minister comment on this, and subsequently, is it the case therefore that some service providers will be reluctant to send in the necessary documentations, knowing that they'll be ultimately closed down once the inspection takes place? Similarly, are the HSE reluctant to carry out the inspection, knowing also that they will have to shut down an existing centre and take on the responsibilities that go with it? Considering this, I would like to ask the Minister if you can provide me with exact figures in terms of what level of the already inspected centres have been registered, have HSE funded, and what level of those registered are non-HSE funded. If the existence of this HSE list of non-viable centres is indeed confirmed, then I would be extremely sceptical that this is no more than kicking the can down the road exercise, similar to the water charges, the banded hours contracts, the bin charges just been recently occurring between two best friends. I would also like to ask the Minister that if the period of 2 years requested is in fact needed. You stated that 700 will have been inspected by the end of this, before this bill is amended, so by October, and then we have 300 odd left. Does it take 2 years to do the other 300? That's the maths that I can't really work out. Would it be better to go for a shorter period, 6, 12 or 18 months, or are you just using this as a tool for a breathing space for the list that I talked about previously, that non-viable centres, and obviously the cost that that will cause to the HSE? Of note, I suppose, the controversies and scandals which have been uncovered in the media and indeed by HICWA in recent times, not specifically in disability residential settings but across the social care sector. There remain, you're saying, 400 residential settings that have never been inspected. We are aware that HICWA have returned to settings that received unfavourable and damning reports many times, yet this large number of settings remain uninspected, with the potential for service users to be at increased risks. I'd like the Minister if you could comment on that. The vision for society for Sinn Féin is all citizens, including those with disabilities, can play a full and independent part in all aspects of life, relying as far as possible on mainstream public services for health, education, employment, housing, with the support of tailored disability services where necessary. We further believe this vision should provide those with disabilities full autonomy and control of their own lives and services. And Minister, I ask you in the context of this to actually initiate the Assisted Decision-Making Capacity Act of 2015. It will have a huge impact and a positive impact with those with disabilities, and include them in society in their decisions for their lives.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Dr. James Reddy.